welcome to Senator Lake, which for today's race seems to have relocated itself onto the surface of Watkins International. This is round 2 of the VRR Marathon GT World Tour live and exclusive on ABN. Born in 1956 as a permanent racing facility and taking its final form, we have today in 1992. This legendary track in upstate New York has played host to almost every major series in North America and beyond. And this afternoon, it plays host to a trio of supercar races in the most treacherous of conditions. We are running the Cup course stage, 3.9 kilometers, 7 turns plus that bus stop complex, the most recent addition to the circuit. The problem spots tonight expected to be that run up through the S's, which in these cars would maybe be no brakes or close to flat, but in these conditions, definitely not that dry line that's going to snake from curb to curb. Is going to be something to watch out for as you climb up the hill. I'm Olivia Hayward. I'll bring you all the coverage for tonight's race, and alongside on the microphones is our wonderful producer, Amity Pulsatrix. Now, Amity, I know you've been looking forward to this race all week, so how excited are you to get this one finally underway?
I am so stoked. I love Aussie supercars. These cars are like, if you took a NASCAR, made it go roundy rounds, and also gave it a screaming exhaust system that made it sound absolutely pitch perfect and beautiful. These are the perfect NASCARs in my personal opinion. They go around road course circuits and street circuits, and they sound amazing. Not only that, but I've also got a relative racing in here. Valkyrie Lightwing is actually one of my siblings, or actually my only sibling that I have. And I'm really stoked to see him enter as well. I was talking about this series and how excited I was because people were entering and all this other thing, and he decided to join in as well. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons for me to be personally excited about it. And having 17, maybe even 18 cars, possibly, on track today for a 15-minute sprints is, I'm excited, okay? I'm autistic about these cars. I love these cars.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes, huh?
Absolutely.
Suddenly a bumper grid of, I must say, some beautiful liveries. We've been looking at them throughout this sort of pre-show section, and they have really put in some amazing work getting this field put together. Again, more than a dozen sort of custom made, a lot of them made by the drivers themselves, getting their art skills worked out. We are actually just catching Bia in the number 57, our two-time race winner last week, doing some standing start practice here. 3 standing starts in these conditions. It's going to be tricky. It's going to be, I think, prioritizing safety and keeping the car pointing forwards, that it is about every single spot. You'll have, as much as it's only 15 minutes, you'll have time to make positions up if you need to. Just want to make sure you get away cleanly and keep all 4 corners on the car for the sort of 12 laps or so we're expecting out of these races.
Absolutely. The standing start is probably going to be the most chaotic out of the entire race, and that's saying quite a lot because the race itself is going to be chaos. Like, not only because of the wet weather, but because these cars are the way that they are. They are very difficult to drive, very fun to drive in a difficult way, but still very difficult. So, you know, being careful on your braking position, on your throttle input and whatnot, on your steering input, being very careful in general, very smooth, is key to success here. And in the rain, that's going to amplify any of the flaws that are in any of those input methods. So we're going to see a lot of people either struggle to get to grips, or we're going to see some people, you know, fly off the handle and, you know, get her done.
Yeah, and let's not forget, we haven't had a standing start yet in the series. Last week, we were at Daytona. Of course, the grid being on the banking there, the series making a sensible call to run a rolling start for those races. So as we move into our qualifying session, which will determine where these drivers will start, on our grid, which of the 9 rows they will find themselves on. I really hope these drivers have done some practice, because it's not simple getting a car with this much power and no assists rolling from a standstill. It is very, very tricky. It looks like, as we head in, qualifying a group session of just 10 minutes in our new format for this weekend. No rain currently falling, but still a moderately wet racetrack means that it's going to be about just getting clean laps and getting your tyres warming up to temperature, finding where the grip is going to develop here as these drivers are going to dry out the track a little bit. And I think being there at the end of the session for that perfect lap, which is going to be the key thing. We've got 15 or 14 cars out on the racing surface right now. And again, you've only got 10 minutes, so maybe 6 attempts at a lap. And you'll have to spend some of that sort of warming up for a lap. And, you know, it's going to be a tricky one. See who can get it when it matters.
Absolutely, and we're going to be taking a ride on board Christina Ryan's number 80 Ford Mustang Aussie supercar. And we'll be able to see a full lap of Watkins Glen in these conditions. Rain not falling, wipers not active, but it is still wet. So heading into turn 1, very careful on the brakes. You can see a splash of wet coming over the front left quarter. As we head into the S's, this is a very treacherous part of the track, especially in the wet, but even in the dry, you have to be very careful and very considerate on your inputs, both brake throttle and your steering, to make sure that you keep off the walls here at Watkins Glen in the S's. Lilac Zier pulling over to the side on the straightaway to let Christina Ryan by on the flying lap. Heading through the bus stop, another very tricky section of the course, but being able to take it very well is Christina Ryan. It can be very tricky, especially in the wet because of all the puddles and whatnot, but you want to take as much curb as you possibly dare. Heading through the carousel and now onto the back stretch. This is the classic NASCAR layout, as we are going to be heading into the final 2 corners. And these are a tricky left-right. You have to be very patient on the throttle in order to get all of the power down as much as you dare. And then heading onto the final straight, the final corner, you want to try and get as much grip as possible. Normally you'd take all the curb you could and extend the track limits as much as possible, but here in the wet, those curbs are deadly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different racetrack than what you drive in the drive. You get a look at that beautiful number 84 Mustang livery. I mean, one of the ones that has been put together by driver themselves. You would normally be all over the curbs throughout the entire course. You'd be taking wide lines off across the curbs in turns 5 and 6. But there just isn't any grip out there. As you see a wobble there out of turn number 1 into the curb, that's Valtteri Lightwind, who I think has just about kept it out of the wall, doing a great job to keep his qualifying session going. Again, no toes allowed in qualifying. Once you are forced to pull it back to pit lane after a crash, that is your session done. So a great job from Valtteri to keep that car in one piece. Currently top of our time report is Bia Constantinu, that number 57. Again, double race winner last time by. Emily Howe was the only person who was really in the same zip code as her in the practice boards, but hasn't got a lapping just yet. We'll see if this one is going to count for the number 83. A lot of Ford Mustangs on display, just 5 Chevrolets in this 18-car field right now. See what Emily Howe is able to do as she comes across the line for what is going to be the first valid lap. It is going to be up to provisional pole as Christina Ryan has hopped to second. Trisha Sawyer now actually beats that time, and Bia Constantinu with a bit of draft coming down the start-finish straight. Is that going to find some lap time to jump her up the board? It is, but only up to third right now, halfway through the session, and we are trading blows at the top 4 cars within 310.
Yeah, the top 4 is really close together. And this was something that I was pretty well expecting. Christina Ryan and Bianca Constantinu, we haven't seen them on track together, at least not on ABN, I believe. So this will be the first time we're seeing B and Ryan going against each other, and they are very close together. Salyer, Tucker Salyer doing a fantastic time, only 800ths behind Emily Howe, who those who watch Winstell will know is one of, like, genuinely one of the best drivers on the service. So seeing her in these cars, you know, and in any car you would assume she'd be on the top of the leaderboard, but seeing things this close, it's really encouraging. We're probably going to be seeing a very good race through the top 4.
Peter Ryan now goes fastest with a 17.3. Emily Howe responds with a 17.0. And what I love about this field so much, Sawyer responds to second, is you've got drivers with such different and varied skill sets. Beatrice Stanton gets a 16 on the board. Host to provisional pole now. We're expecting the times to improve as the tyres heat up and the track dries out a little bit, but this is fantastic. Valtteri Lightwing, he goes up to 9th into the top 10 now. But there's such different skill sets. We've seen Bia be so strong in Champ Car. Christina Ryan the same. You've got Emily Howe, more of a stock car driver. You've got Bruce Silva, who has done some stock car Brazil in the past. Any of these drivers you can point out and say, this is what their specialty is, or maybe that, like Lilac Zir, they're a bit of an all-rounder. But it seems like it's not out on track and might have her session cut short and have to go from the back of the grid. But we really don't know who is going to favour not just these cars, but also these conditions. This is one of the first wet races we've had broadcast on ABN, especially in the sprint format. Emily Howe does come across the line, finds an improvement, but slots in half a tenth behind Constantinu for the first time. Dia is holding serve there. Christina Ryan will get out the way to follow on board with Jimmy Cato, one of our drivers from all the way over Australia. Obviously, native to these cars. I imagine the weather's not always this rough down under.
Absolutely, the weather's certainly playing a factor with Jimmy Cato. Member of the Lead Paw Racing team, founded by Pan Hirade, who is currently, unfortunately, dealing with a sickle cell, but hopefully is able to get the treatment required to try and make life a little bit more manageable. Sickle cell is one hell of a bloodborne disease to have. But Jimmy Cotto representing that team, and we do actually have two anthropomorphic teams, you could say, with Brew D Silva also being from Dogbox Racing. So we've got Lead Paw Racing and Dogbox Racing, and as you mentioned before the broadcast when we were talking, it'll be interesting to see who's top dog here, but it seems like Brew might have the advantage within the wet weather conditions here in New York.
Yeah, Bia has found another improvement, by the way. Went to a 16.5, best practice time, which doesn't necessarily require track limits to be followed. Oh, wow. Was Emily with a 16.3.
And B actually
second off that.
And B actually confirmed that time just now. Only less than 2 100ths, or a bit more than 2 100ths. Slower than the fastest lap time she set. So it's not just a flash in the pan. B is just like that, just built like that. But Emily Howe, of course, close behind, just 2 tenths behind.
And also a couple of hundredths off our best lap time on that 5th lap of running. Now, I'm wondering whether the tyres have sort of reached that peak temperature window and how much more pace there is to find here as we're into the final minute. Emily Howe will cross line to start what will be her final lap. Does this 6th lap have any response for Bia Constantinu? Coming down towards the start finish is not going to find improvement again. Bleeds off another 10th of a second. I think these tyres might have hit the limit here.
Yeah, with the standard dry tire, your first lap is always going to be your fastest lap, but here in the rain, it's a little bit different, especially with the constantly evolving conditions of the what is the faster line around the course, what is the drier, more grippier line around the course. And I think we might have just found that limit where the tires start to fall off just a few laps in. And it's going to be a constant balance because of the rain on the ground here. Being able to find that grip and develop a dry line is going to improve your times, but at a certain point, the rubber starts eating away and gets torn up as we switch sessions.
And I've been caught off guard, and I bet the field has been caught off guard. Group qualifying sessions in a heat-based format, you don't get the extra time. Once the check is out, everyone is done. And so that is our grid set in stone for today's race. Let's have a look at what our starting grid is going to be. It is going to be Bia Constantiu taking that pole position with Emily Howe not far behind at all. Then on second row, Scott Sprinkle only set about 3 laps in that session, but found enough for third place ahead of Tucker Sawyer. And then on road number 3, Champ Car veterans Justina Riley and Nicholas Pressey going to line up side by side. Paige Zeri and Bruce Silver are going to make up your road number 4, with Bailey Thompson and Eva Melton rounding out your top 10 of tonight's race. Elias Flores and Rebecca Rennie will line up on road number 6, with Valkyrie Lightwing and Jimmy Cato, your 7th row of tonight's action. Jacob Fulton and Malachi Tracy will line up 15th and 16th, with Eli Sasek and Lyle Zier, 2 quick drivers, going to have to make their way through the field in our first race here. As the revs come up, the lights are on. And we are racing here at Watkins Glen. It's a pretty good getaway here from Emily Howe, but Bia is going to hold side by side. He's going to have the inside line here into turn number 1 and should be able to just block out the 83 here with maybe a little bit of a nudge further down in the field. It looks like everyone's going to try and sneak through fairly safely. A couple of pit starters, Scott Sprinkle, Eva Melton.
Yeah, starting from the pits.
Out onto the racetrack, but it is going to be Bia Constantiu holding on.
Whoa!
This one has Tucker Sawyer. Snap of oversteer in the S's finds the wall. Going to have to carry that damage for the rest of the race. Everyone manages to get through without too much trouble. Sawyer is going to fall down to 6th place here, but is going to be able to deliver this one through.
Oh boy.
Remember, the aero is not going to be as important here in these conditions. Just hope there's no wheel damage on that front left corner. Emily Howe's made it through, actually, here. And a move after a slide from Bia in the bus stop is going to promote Emily Howe to the lead of this race. And now Bia, who, of course, had to fight Bailey Thompson all race long in the sprint last week, has it all to do against Emily Howe now. But they have about a second and a half back Christina Ryan, Nicholas Pressey and Paige Zeri, who are under a blanket but just can't quite hold on to that top 2.
One of the most important things about racing in the wet, especially as it's raining as hard as it is right now, is the spray. You could see just how little you could see from Bianca's perspective behind Emily Howe. As you go faster, that rain gets carried higher and higher into the air from the diffuser, and that spray blinds you. And in this particular situation, being in second place, probably not too big a deal. But when you get further back into the pack, it becomes a much bigger deal. When you get into a situation where you have a lot of drivers near you, it can be a really blinding factor. It can really prevent you from being able to see where you're going.
And Bia poked her nose there into the bus. That's Tucker Sawyer again having an issue. Gonna have to straight line the bus stop here and get out some position, but we are side by side for the race lead. Bia's gotten to the inside of the carousel, the outer loop turn number 5. Is gonna stick to the inside line. Emily Howe's gonna hold on, but this is an incredibly close battle, and there are absolutely no hold barred here. It's not Sprinkle with a big slide in the bus stop, but managed to hold on to it and falls back to 15th after that pit lane start. It looks like Emily's going for those more wide lines in the corners, trying to carry the speed more than anything. Bia trying to really go to the apex, find that inside line and look for some room there.
Whoa.
Bia outrates Emily. Emily goes to the inside line. Bia outrates and sticks it on the outside. He's going to clear and get to the lead, but Emily has the run on the exit. He's going to have to back out as we get into the start of the S's. I cannot believe Bia got that stopped into turn number 1.
That is incredible braking, incredible bravery from Bianca Constantinu. But we've seen last event at Daytona, we saw the skill level that Bianca has. She now has some competition, so she's probably having an absolute gas of a time finally having some competition to go up against in Emily Howe. And Emily Howe is learning very quickly. B is very quick, very brave, willing to be aggressive in the rain, so she might have to step it up a gear in order to compete.
Further back, Nicholas Pressey. That bus stop proved to be very tricky. Again, those puddles that go throughout the line, really tricky. Got forced to hit the runoff and has fallen down to P8 now, followed from, I believe, P4.
I believe Valkyrie Lightwing having a few issues as well, unfortunately. Ooh, some narrow avoidance there in the carousel. I think had an issue in the bus stop, so we'll take a look at that and see what happened here. Taking a look through, here's Valkyrie Lightwing coming into the bus stop. A fairly clean inwards, but going a little bit wide and getting into a puddle on the curbs on the outside of that corner. Very smart on the brakes, keeps it off the wall, keeps the car clean. As Eva Melton also misses the braking zone and goes through, trying to get the car going. It's just too slippery.
Yeah, I mean, with the new debris updates as well, once you get that dirt on the rear tires, it becomes even more difficult to get rolling again, get the power down. Bia Constantino has pulled about an 8/10 gap right now over Emily Howe, but look at how far back we have to go to catch Christina Ryan and Tutta Sawyer, who has just gone past Paige Zeri, who would this bus stop is the tricky part of the track here. Paige Zeri's gone sideways, managed to recover it like a lot of drivers have, but Tutta Sawyer, who took that big hit into the wall, has fallen down to P number 4. And now it's dot box. 2 cars nose to tail, quite literally.
Yeah.
With Paige Zeri Silver.
So there's 2 dog box racing cars here in this event. Paige Zeri, a late entry just before qualifying had started. So Paige Zeri and Bruce Silva both in those gorgeous looking dog box cars, by the way. It's a beautiful colorway, beautiful color scheme. And again, as you mentioned before, these cars are gorgeous. Every single driver's got a really nice livery here going on. The WeatherTech Chevy Camaro, piloted by Bailey Thompson, just behind the 2 dog box cars, with Nicholas Pressey just behind.
I think Bailey got enough TV time last week, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Look at some of the new entries. Nicholas Pressey, a very stock car inspired 94 behind that blue and silver, right on the back, and trying to put some pressure on the 27, but I'm not sure how much luck Pressey's going to have with what we've seen out of Thompson. And a greatly navigated bus stop there from the 27, going to pull away and really on the outside line of the carousel, cut back in late. And I think Pressey actually found the grip down the inside line, so closes back in. Slides in the bus stop this time by Scott Sprinkle and Lilac Zier. Sprinkle goes to the right, Zier goes to the left. And they're both going to have a little bit of position lost. We were talking about the spec up on this car as well. Unfortunately, Taylor not here to talk us through exactly how that spec gets put onto that paint, but
it's a gorgeous paint color.
It's a brilliant color.
It's like it's almost like a pearl kind of thing, which is really hard to pull off in iRacing with their specular mapping, but it looks gorgeous as we take a look on board.
When the sun is going to peek through the horizon, through these clouds later on in the event, I think that's going to pop just even more. Bia Constantinu 1.2 seconds now, but a little bit sketchy through the opening part of the bus stop, and even more. It's going to go sideways.
What a save!
And Emily Howe isn't going to be able to find the gap, but that has kicked that battle for the lead into high gear. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if he's be too happy about how Bia ended up defending that position. Emily catching a little bit on that outside of turn 5, though, the exit. And the aggression really being ramped up. They're trying to force another mistake. You can see it. But the question is, who's going to make the mistake first? Because at this tempo, this can't be sustainable for the two of them. Surely someone is going to end up falling foul on a huge amount of spray that Emily ducks out the way of into turn number 1. So difficult invisibility if you're the trailing driver here. The wiper's really not able to work fast enough to clear the visibility there.
Visibility is a really big concern here in the wet, especially when it's actively raining. Qualifying was a drying track. This is a constantly getting wetter track. You can see the spray coming off of Bianca Constantinu's car as Emily Howe trails behind, getting squirrely through the bus stop, keeping everything under control, though. You can see just how loose these cars are in the not only in the rain, but also just how they're driving it. They are on the edge of grip, on the limit of grip. I tried to say limit and grip at the same time.
And then so much of those curves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Aussie Supercars commentators would say something about there's nothing left in it. There's something, nothing in it or something like that. That's about what we're seeing here with the top 2 drivers here.
It's impressive how much they're able to find from different places in these conditions. You're expecting obviously one line to dry out, but the problem is it's that rubbered line, the dry line that cars would normally run, ends up becoming super slick when there's a layer of water standing on top of it. That's the problem you're really getting up through the S's especially, not too many puddles with it being a hill that water can flow down. And then the bus stop, those curbs, those divots, catch water and you end up aquaplaning over the top of them. You've really got to coast the car across the top of those little lakes, otherwise you end up in huge trouble. But both of these drivers being so aggressive on every single curb, driving it like it's dry almost. As we have a battle here, this is for P50, this is Scott Sprinkle and Eva Melton going at it right now. Both drivers had some fair troubles in this race. These were 2 pit starters actually. Sprinkle giving up a 3rd place qualifying position and maybe some technical issues. And these two really haven't been able to find much traction to move up through the field.
Yeah, unfortunately, these conditions are the great equalizer. You might have a lot of pace in the dry, but the wet, with the dynamic track surface being as highly variable as it is, from grippy to slippy, catching a lot of drivers out. But Eva Melton and Scott Sprinkle doing the best they can with these particular scenarios, as the sun might be peeking through the clouds just a little bit in certain portions of the track. Not really going to help the situation.
For maybe the next half hour, expecting it to maybe dissipate during our second heat as we are side by side through the final corner here. The outside line gonna prevail a little bit for Scott Sprinkle here, but this is such a tight battle. You've also got, who is that behind?
Oh, he got bumped, got touched. That's contact.
Hold on to it. And Eli Sassett is gonna back out of it, but even Melton takes advantage, and then there's contact again as Melton comes off the puddle on the inside of turn 2. And this time it is Eli Sassett who takes advantage.
What is that car behind?
My goodness, even Melton has also had an incident trying to get going and catch the other puddle and finds the inside barrier and catch some very similar to what Twitter Sawyer's dealing with. As this battle continues up for P14, Eli Sassett now leading but being hunted down. And even Melton's race is going to be done here. He's going to end up starting from the back of the field for race number 2.
Scott Sprinkle and Eli Sassett now in a battle. They're currently battling for 14th. Side by side into the final 2 corners. Got to be very patient on the throttle here, giving enough space to each other. And it looks like Scott Sprinkle might be backing out, trying to get a better run through the corner, getting on the inside, hitting the throttle very early. Both cars so squirrely on the exit, and they're side by side going down the front stretch. heading into the braking zone. Going to be going into turn 1. Scott Sprinkle having the advantage on the inside and is going to take the position and head into 14th ahead of Eli Sasek.
We might have to look back at our battle for the lead because Beer Constantinu had again built about a second lead, but again had a big slide through the bus stop, had to gather it back up, and once again Emily Howe is now right in position. But it seems like Can't Get Too Close is maybe struggling when she gets within a second with that visibility. We have 2 laps to go in this race. Beer Constantinu still leading by less than a second. And Emily Howe's going to need to find a way through Christina Ryan in 3rd place, 8.5 seconds back from our race lead, but doing a great job holding off Paige Zeri and Tucker Sawyer for the rest of the top 5. Now see, how does Beer take the bus stop this time? There's been mistakes. They haven't quite bitten her enough to lose the position just yet, but still dipping tires into the grass on that second apex, straight line across that puddle. On the 4th apex, Emily Howe not able to gain. Beer is going to hold it together, but she's got to do that one more time, and nothing is guaranteed in these conditions. The gap 0.6 of a second as Emily Howe tries to chase down the number 57. There's an instant limit in place. I'm not sure whether either of these two are going to be close to it, as Bailey Thompson's had a big slide in the bus stop as well off that first apex. Going to lose a spot to Elias Flores. But up here in our battle for lead, it's the white flag in the air. Beer Constantinu lead by 0.8 of a second. Just has to hold on for another 2.5 miles to take her 3rd consecutive race win. But Emily Howe is not going to give anything up here. Finds a little bit of grip on the outside of the track, lets the car walk out and focuses on the exit instead. And Beer has a little bit of a drift there through turn 3 in the S's. But managed to carry the speed, managed to stay in the power, crucially. Gap is 0.9, does Beer back it down in this last run through the bus stop? I think we knew the answer, of course not. This 4th apex, does she hold on to it a little bit loose again? But it's gonna be just enough. Coming through turn 5 now onto the exit. Careful, don't straddle that curb. They both had to wash out wide, no off track there. 2 corners to go. 1 second lead. Can Beer Constantinu bring this home ahead of Emily Howe? And what has been a fantastic duel between these two, 10 seconds to gap the rest of the field. But as we come through the final corner for the final time, Beer Constantinu gonna get the power down. He's gonna catch the curb. He's gonna have a loose moment. Is she able to hold on for Emily Howe? Yes, she is. Drifting across the line. And the number 57 goes back to back to back. What a race.
That was incredible. Bianca Constantinu mastering the rain and mastering the car here in New York. A fantastic showing of skill and tenacity in order to be able to not only pass Emily deep on the brakes, but also stay ahead and getting as aggressive on throttle application as she did on the final corner and being able to hold the thing drifting throughout all the way to the finish line, and now just showing off with the Falcon livery. You love to see it. Might as well be in Formula Drift. Why not?
Yeah, and then lots of rear differential on these cars. It does suit the drifting, and these track conditions definitely helping as well. So it's Constantinu winning the race by just 7/10 over Emily Howe. There's Christina Ryan rounding out the podium. Paige Zeri and Tucker Sawyer with the top 5, with Bruce Silver just behind. Double top 6 for Dodbots Racing. Bruce Silver will take the pole position into the second heat. There's Nicholas Pressey, Elias Flores, Bailey Thompson, Rebecca Rennie, your top 10. Lilac Zir and Eli Sasek, I believe it was. Eliza and Jimmy Cato, sorry, round out your top 12. Jacob Fulton, Eli Sasek, Scott Sprinkle, Malachi Tracy, Valkyrie Lightwing, and then Eva Melton. Your only DNF from this one. But as we mentioned, the grid now for this race, it'll be Bruce Silver on the pole position, Tucker Sawyer alongside, and then Paige Zeri, Bruce's teammate, lined up right behind Christina Ryan, Emily Howe, Bia Constantinu, the rest of your top 6 for this grid, and then once again, the rest of the field taking it out the same spots they finished in race number 1. So we'll see if these drivers are able to do very short turnaround for these 2 races. No time to breathe for us or for them. And as we get onto the grid here, who can get the best launch? The revs come in, there's beautiful sound, and we are rolling for a second green flag. Tucker Sawyer with a great start, he's going to take the lead. Emily Howe as well behind is going to have a great launch and maybe find second place into turn number 1. The 2 dog box cars side by side, not finding much grip. There's going to be a little bit of door ban. Christina Ryan going to clear for 3rd place. Bia Constantinu going to get into Bruce Silver, who sort of wiggled across the nose there. Silver's going to fall all the way to the back of the grid from pole position. We'll see if we can get a look at it at some point, but we need to focus on the rest of this lap 1. Bia Constantinu now looking to try and get the move on Paige Azeri. The 99 not able to find the grip, is going to move aside, but Bia has to move up in 4th place here, while Emily Howe's already up to 2nd with a great launch. Christina Ryan loose through the start of the bus stop. They're going to be side by side. Bia's got nowhere to go. He's going to have to hammer on the outside of Christina, but Paige Azeri now trying to poke the nose. He's just going to get pinched off by Bia there. They're going to be fighting side by side behind. But further up, Tucker Sawyer's had a slide. That's going to give the lead to Christina Ryan. They're going to have to file through. Sawyer stays to the left here. Just catches too much of that exit curb in turn number 5. And this battle, Constantinu trying to hone in on Christina Ryan. Gets to the inside. He's going to try and outbreak into turn number 1. Christina, I'm sure, is going to want to defend this both for her position and for the roommate of Emily Howe ahead. But Bia's just too fast. He's going to slot through. Chrissy goes for the crossover, can't find any luck from it. And the gap is 2 seconds. We've seen what Bia was able to do from the lead of the race. We'll have to see what she can do now, chasing down. As further behind, Paige Azeri looking to try and maybe move back into 3rd place. And we have an absolute gaggle of cars behind.
This is the beauty of the format here, as we see a car going sideways on the straight, going through the grass. Evasive action had to be taken by Lilac Zier. I believe that might have been Rebecca Rennie having some issues on the straightaway, getting lost in the mist perhaps, and taking a piece of grass.
Line on the exit 4 and spent the entire straight recovering it. Paige Azeri side by side managed to hand the outside of 5 on exit, and it's Christina Ryan. They're going to be battling to turn number 6. Azeri has the inside line. He's going to wash out, going to throw the block pass. Christina Ryan goes for the outside again into 7. And Paige Azeri can't handle it on that wet pit entry line. They're going to be side by side again, coming down the start finish. What a move from Azeri to get the spot, but it's not done yet. He's going to try and replicate Bia's late braking. It's not to make it happen. They'll be side by side again into turn 1. Paige is just about going to clear, but can't quite get the power down. But it's going to be just far ahead where Christina surely he's going to have to back out. No, he's going to sweep it around the outside of turn number 2. But now Paige has the sweep on the outside of 3. No, she doesn't. Christina managed to clear and throw the block. They are nose to tail, and I imagine Christina is not going to block the inside. Paige is going to get there. He's going to dive the bus stop. Christina's going to be forced to bail out of it. Can't get it stopped on that wet outside line. Bia Constantinu's had a bit of a slide ahead. That's going to let Emily Howe run away. Christina surely has a slowdown to serve, and he's going to have to bleed that. But for now, stays ahead of Paige Azeri.
That's going to be an interesting situation there. I would assume that there would have to be a redress of positions, but there is...
Bia's well wide in turn number 6. Cut up the tyres a little bit through the carousel, through the bus stop. Managed to rejoin, but he's down in 5th place now and returns favour for Bailey last week. But that surely is going to give Emily Howard a clean run towards this one. Paige Azeri still battling Christina for what is now the last 2 spots on the podium. I'm sure Bia's going to try and get back. He was only 3 seconds away from getting second place back.
So this is going to be an interesting situation, what the ruling is going to be on this, cutting the track. It might be a situation with iRacing's cutting penalties, where because the cars are driving so slow through the wet, it might be just the case where you can essentially cut a decent portion of the track and drive as you normally are and not have to serve the penalty just by nature of the wet conditions. I don't know if that's the kind of game that Christina Ryan had played here by cutting the track, but it'll be interesting to see how the stewards are going to look at that post-race after the event.
Her and Emily were the only drivers in the 19s on lap number 3, and that was with Christina's excursion. Page's area were 120.8. I'm sure there's going to be some shouts from the cockpit of the 99 saying that, you know, I need to be given this spot back. That's not a fair defense. But they were side by side on the entry of the bus stop. There was Beatrice Stanton who gets around Nicholas Press. He has the fastest lap now. It's actually gone a tenth faster than Emily Howe. But with just 8 laps to go in this race and a gap of 7 seconds, I think it's going to be just trying to recover back to second place here. Bruce Silver's up now to P15 after that instant in turn 1 with Bia.
Whoa! That was Nicholas Pressey getting sideways through the bus stop. You know, on the static cameras. Now holding up Bailey Thompson a little bit. Bailey going to be taking the inside, muscling her way through, saying, "You made the mistake, give me the position." Taking it by force and now making that position up as Tucker Sallier now looking to take advantage of the mistake.
Can't quite get it done. He's going to have to slot him for 7th, and we've seen Tucker struggle with control of that car a little bit in the early run of this race, of the first race. It's still going to struggle to get the power down. He's going to try and get the run on Pressey. Is going to be close enough to maybe go for a look, but he's going to slot back in. Beatrice Stanton, who set a 17.8 last time by. That is 8 tenths faster than Emily. In theory, maybe that would be enough, but I just don't know how consistent that lap time can be with how the tyres sort of overheat a little bit. It has stopped raining now halfway through the second of 3 races. There's no more rain forecast. There's clear skies about to roll through. So the track is going to get faster and faster.
And Eli Sasek in the wall at the S's.
Yeah. Eli Sasek, and that's going to be a big hit of damage for the number 9.
Eli Sasek was in the battle for 9th. Between about like 4 or 5 different cars, and unfortunately got a bit of a wheel spin going through the S's and making a crash. As we see this gaggle of cars continues to battle for 9th position. Jimmy Cato defending against Lilac Zier just behind Eva Melton, able to defend the position nicely as Elias Flores leading the charge in this pack. This is a pretty tight pack of cars here, and they have been pretty ferociously battling for the past lap and a half or so.
Yeah, we have 3 big battle packs right now. We have the battle for second, which is now 3-way with Gina Page and Bianca. We've got a battle for 5th place with Thompson, Pressey, Sawyer still on the tail of the 94 there as well. And then this very close fight for 10th place. Remember, 12 cars get points in each of these races, so out of that 4-car pack for 10th, 1 is going to be left on the outside looking in. Oh, and for P3, Bia sees a moment from Page's area on the exit of the bus stop, gets to the inside. There's a couple of bits of contact, but in the end, Bia's going to make it through, and I imagine not a particularly friendly race for the 99, and is going to try and find any way through, I'd imagine, but he's just struggling for grip, and I might have to settle into 4th place. Yeah, really, it's been a shown a lot of aggression so far with this one.
Absolutely. The pace has just been kicking up more and more as time goes on in these races. We saw the field get somewhat spread out with a strong battle for first between Bianca Constantino and Emily Howe. In this race, Emily Howe able to get to an early gap, a very comfortable gap of about 6 seconds. Meanwhile, the race for second is closed up within about a second and a half or so. And there's battles all over the place as we see a real tight squeeze from lap traffic. That's Malachi Tracy getting out of the way, but that's going to cause a bit of a disruption to this battle here for second.
And Paige there, we did not need a second invitation there. Is going to go for it, be side by side with Christina Ryan. Bia's not going to send it 3, is she? They're going to be 3 wide into turn number 6. Someone's going to have to give. And it's going to be none of them. Bia's going to go sideways. Paige there, he's going to be the one who comes out of it in front. Christina Ryan falls back into 3rd place. And with 4 laps to go, there is... none of those cars are looking in particularly good shape anymore. And they have to watch out for Bailey Thompson and co behind, who could start to try and close in.
This is the real supercars mentality. Supercars are basically just touring cars. Rubbing's racing here, and we saw that happen right there. 3 wide. Bianca getting the short end of the stick out of it. Christina almost getting the short end as well, but is now still on the tail end of Paige Azeri from Dogbox Racing, doing everything she can to try and run away from Christina. And that is just a beautiful spirit of racing, seeing these drivers put everything on the line to try and make up a position.
Yeah, and again, Paige Azeri, a driver who had been sort of muscled out through a lot of this race, had that side-by-side Christina into the bus stop, had that little bit of contact with Bia after a moment out of the bus stop. Trevor Sawyer's now moved up to P5 ahead of Bailey Thompson. That'll move to 27 into the reverse grid pole for our final race. But yeah, Paige now back up to 2nd, where I think she'll think she's deserved to be this whole battle. Christina Ryan down in 3rd with a little bit of damage on the nose, as that's wide for Paige Azeri. I do have to start wondering where these drivers are sitting on instance now, because this has been a lot more physical of a race compared to our first heat. And some of these drivers might be approaching that 60 NX drive-through limit, which will drop them way out of contention, potentially out of the points entirely. 3 laps to go here. Bia's now within a second of Paige even. They've closed right back up. Christina Ryan's to have a big moment in the bus stop. He's going to hold on to it, but now he's under immense pressure from the 57. This is going to be... I don't think a friendly battle at this point. This is going to be, again, spirit of supercars, really. We'll see if Bia can get the move on and maybe try and move up back toward Paige Azeri. Remember, Bia finished 1st with Emily 2nd in that first race. It would be advantage Emily Howe if Bia finishes down in 3rd or 4th, despite those pole position points, I think. So this is going to be really important for Bia in these last couple laps to try and find any additional position she can, try and force a mistake out of Christina and get to the rear bump of that dog box car ahead. Emily Howe 10 seconds up the road. We saw it, the gap that her and Bia were able to pull in the first race. Bia stuck in traffic, stuck in incidents, not be able to hold on. Is going to be alone for the 83 at the front of the field. Can drive it very safely to try and bring it back. This battle for 2nd place is going to be really crucial. Still 3 cars in it, 3 cars that have had an incident in turn number 6. Just a couple of laps ago. Does anyone have a response to Paige Azeri?
It's going to be difficult to see if there is a response. Time is running out. That track is still drying, still evolving. You can see just how close to the end of that puddle that they're getting, trying to get everything out of the car. Bianca Constantino might be going side by side. There's a bit of a door bang.
That's a block, really, from Christina Ryan. That's going to give a drive-through to Bia Constantino with that piece of contact. And I've got to say, if that was just loose under braking from Christina, then that's one thing. But it looked like she was really trying to close the door late under braking there of Bia Constantino. I imagine that's not me seen friendly, but at the same time, Christina would argue, well, I got taken out by her a couple laps ago. Why are you expecting me to play fair at this point?
Yeah, taking a look at this pass again, it looks like it's hard to say who really was at fault for that particular scenario. Very tight racing from both, but as we come around the final two corners, Emily Howe controlled the race pretty much from flag to flag, getting through the starting grid incredibly quickly and making a huge gap to the battle behind. He's going to be going across the finish line and taking the win for race 2.
Yeah, really a dominant showing, and that start, the way to get it done. She's going to get her celebrations done already. Paige Azeri is going to hold on for second place here. Christina Ryan going to finish third. Bia Constantino going to fall way down the order. Is going to go into pit lane here to try and serve that penalty. Kutta Sawyer will inherit fourth position. Bailey Thompson fifth, battling with Nicholas Pressey across the line. It'll be the 94 falling short in that one, but taking reverse grid pole. Then further back, we've got Eva Melton, and then Elias Flores, Bruce Silver side by side. It'll be the 91 that holds on there. Elias gets that one. Lila Adair, Scott Sprinkle all under a blanket. And then Rebecca Rennie, Jacob Fulton, and then Jimmy Cato and Valkyrie Lightwing give me your final finishers in today's race. Malachi Tracy and Eli Sattett going to finish multiple laps down here and out of the race. But I think it's fair to say the gloves have come off in this series. That first race, there was a lot of close racing, but ultimately a lot of leaving it to the room, trying to sort of take those alternate lines. This one felt a lot more forceful, and we saw the consequences of that. Constantino getting pushed all the way out in that one. And we'll see if we have any time for some interviews here, but hopefully people want to try to get a feel for the track here. Time has advanced quite a fair bit since our previous race, and the track has dried out quite significantly now. Again, the skies look very clear here at Watkins Glen International. Track reports of it being very lightly wet. We're seeing a couple of drivers, I think, gonna try out the dry compound tires in this practice session to see if they can find any performance out of them. But you're gonna have to be careful because the puddle is still gonna be in those awkward places.
Truly phenomenal racing that we've seen in the first two races, as we are now in warm-up for race 3, the future race. Another 15-minute race, of course. And as mentioned earlier, the sun has come out. The track is still wet, but it is going to be drying throughout the rest of this race. And this is where things get very interesting. Tire choice is really going to matter here. Do you take the dry tires and hope that the track dries out enough for you to take advantage of that, or do you stay on the wets? Taking a look through some of these corners where we were seeing puddles in race 1 and 2, we're not seeing any more, so it might actually be worth the risk to take those dry tires. This is one of the more strategically interesting races on the calendar, I think.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a really tough call. We've got different drivers on different tires here. Currently, we only have 2 drivers who have managed to complete a lap time in this 10-minute session, both of them on the wet compound.
We'll take a look at on this ticker board. You can see what everybody is choosing. Valkyrie Lightwing actually taking the dries. You're gonna see how it works for him. And Emily Howe also taking the dries.
And able to use a fair bit of curb in there. That's the thing that I'm really watching here. She's gonna get a time on board that's a 120.7. It's not on the pace of what the wets were able to do. But remember, these tyres are still going to be cold. We'll see if they warm into it over the next couple of laps. It's just a warm-up session. Remember, no points on the line here. Drivers just free to find whatever they can out of the track and get themselves that little bit of intel for what is going to be a very tricky decision for this final race.
Now we're going to take a look at some of the times that people have been able to set here. You can see the gaps here. It doesn't seem like people are really setting the world on fire, just trying to test the tires, test the limits, test where the grip is on track. But at the current moment, Nicholas Pressey, top of the board with a 117.83. Interesting to see, because Emily Howe, I believe if we take a look at the ticker here, is on dries, but Pressey and Thompson also on dries. So
Howe switched to them. So their lap times that are on the board right now were on the wet. They're now just going to test out the dry tires instead. But right now, Emily's not been able to find any improvement on those tires, and Boo Silver on the wets, now Paige Sari on the wets, Dodbox 1-2, seem to be showing that maybe the call is going to be to stay on the wet with the tires for this slick final race of the afternoon. There's going to be a little bit more time that passes between the end of this session and the start of the third race. Is that going to be enough for a crossover? I'm glad I don't have to make that call. I'm glad that I'm able to sit up here and just watch, because the nerves have to be through the roof right now for these drivers trying to work out a call that could define their entire race.
Absolutely. This is going to be a very difficult decision to make for every driver on the field, because with this particular situation, with these mixed conditions, not only do you have to worry about what's going to be good for this session, but the next session, time advances, and the weather's going to be different. The track conditions are going to be different. So even though the wets are good now, keep in mind there are cars circulating through the track, moving that the wetness on the track up into the air and re-spreading it around the track because of the diffusers throwing that water up as you go through it. So as a result of that, the track is constantly going to be changing, constantly going to be drying. So while the wet tires may be an advantage at the start of the race, they will fall off towards the end, whereas those dry tires, they will be very sketchy in the beginning of the race and might clear up towards the end and might be faster towards the end. But what do you choose? Are you able to get enough of a gap where that gap loss with the wet tires doesn't matter? Or are you able to keep the car on track and keep it fast enough, keep pace with the wet tire drivers in order to be able to make up that difference later on in the session? It's a really interesting choice to make, and I do not envy the drivers making that choice as we take a look at Christina Ryan also getting the terms with those dry tires. But currently, it seems as though the fastest 2 times set by Bruce Silva and Paige Azeri are on the wets. Those times were set on the wet, so interesting to see what other drivers use that information to make their decision making. A minute and a half left in the warm-up of this session.
It's gonna be so tricky as Emily's a second and a half off in those dry compound tires right now, but it's took 5 laps to get there, and it's still not quite on pace. And you've got to remember, it's gonna be incredibly difficult on that standing start, on that first lap. She's gonna have to fight for every position she can, and where the starts have normally been her strength, she's not really had to do too much battling so far in these races. If she ends up opting for the dry compound tire for the start, she could end up at the back of the field by the end of lap 1 and 2 and have to make all those positions back. Maybe with a tire advantage, yes, but no pass is easy in these cars. They're so wide, they're so tricky to handle. It's going to be a very tough decision here, and I can't wait to see what everyone goes for.
It'll definitely be very interesting to see the choices people make and what that results in on the start line and at the finish line. Standing starts in this series, so that's going to be a significant factor for determining your track position in the first lap of the race, but these conditions are the hardest to deal with, especially in these supercars. The ever-changing conditions with the sun out, drying the track, the cars out, flailing the rain into the air, also drying the track. This is where those variable conditions really come into play. This is where the superstars in the rain really shine. As the session now ends and we get ready for the third and final race of round 2 of the Marathon GT World Tour here at Watkins Glen International.
And it is going to be Nicholas Pressey on the pole position for this one. Bailey Thompson behind Trisha Sawyer, Christina Ryan, Paige Azeri, Emily Howe, your top 6. Again, then the order from our second race. Bia Constantinu, after taking that late penalty after contact with Christina Ryan on that final lap, is gonna end up starting from 15th place and has a lot of work to do. We're seeing most drivers on the dry compound tires here. The weather's progressed, the track is being marked as mostly dry. Paige Azeri sticking with the wets, it looks like, as is Bruce Silva. Jake Fulton, Kate Malachi Tracy, the lights are on. We're gonna get rolling once again. Eyes, I think, on Paige Azeri. Who gets the best launch here? It's a bad start from Nicholas Pressey. It's a great start again from Emily Howe. But there's a lot of traffic ahead. They're 2-3 wide ahead. Paige Azeri's going to turn. I think that's Eva Melton through the grass. Eva's going to gather it up. He's going to be able to rejoin. But he's going to lose a couple of positions here. They're going to get going. Nicholas Pressey holds on to the race lead. And it looks like the dry compound tyres might be the move, but that doesn't mean the track is dry. It's still going to be about a fight for grip here as we move up through the S's. Paige Azeri now getting attacked by Bia Constantinu, who's already up to 6th place here on this initial start. I'm sure no loss between those two as well. As Christina Ryan looking to get around Bailey Thompson. Good luck with that one. Trisha Sawyer goes wide in the carousel, but holds on to 2nd place. But it's Nicholas Pressey, despite not the best launch off the line, holding on to the lead at the start of this race.
Yeah, the start of this race has been absolutely incredible, and it seems like the wet tires might have been a terrible decision in this case. The track dried out quite a lot since the warm-out session. You can see only a tiny little bit of mist on certain areas of the track, but not all of it. You can see some of the trails coming off the cars, so it is still a bit damp, but not enough.
Turn one here.
Oh boy, 3 wide. Emily Howe, Bailey Thompson, and Christina Ryan.
Oh my God, that was Bia. And what happened there? Emily Howe gets around Christina Ryan and then Bailey Thompson, but in the background, a bit lost control from Bia Constantin, goes deep on the brakes, manages to not collect anyone, but is going to fall back behind Elias Flores, it looks like. Paige Zhang still getting swallowed up on those dry compound tires. There's contact with Elias Flores on the exit of turn 1. But it's Emily Howe to third place, Nicholas Pressey and Tucker Sawyer further up, defending their position so far and with about a second lead over the two of them.
Nicholas Pressey, Tucker Salyer doing a fantastic job being able to build the gap from the cars behind, but that gap will shrink as they go too wide. Battling like this is going to lose you time to the cars behind as Tucker Salyer goes wide and is now going to lose the position in a second as Nicholas Pressey is now in the lead in the number 94. Tucker Salyer in the number 19.
They are now up to 6th place. Nicholas Pressey, that's that beat by Emily Howe. That's a 112. The track is dry. Remember, the times in the previous race, we're talking 117s, 118s. Already finding 112s out of this track surface now. As it has dried out, we could get a 13th lap in this race, it looks like. And Constantin, who looks to charge for the field now, has Bailey Thompson to get around. Again, we've seen this in the sprint race of last week, but it's Nicholas Pressey at the lead. Try to defend from Tucker Sawyer and then Emily Howe. You still see the tails picking up. There's still spray coming off the track here, especially across those curves that's still holding a little bit of moisture. And it's going to be very tricky indeed for these drivers to work out a way. We've got a very close battle for 5th place now. Bailey Thompson defended the inside from Bia Constantinou. There's going to be a little bit of a door rub, and Bailey Thompson's going to hold it through turn number 6. He has a little bit of slide trying to wait for turn 7 here. And we know we saw a battle like this last week, but that's even more frustrating knowing that the top 4 are streaking away right now. This isn't a battle for the lead right now. This is a battle for 5th. And she's been held about a second this time by compared to what the leaders were able to do. As there's a battle side by side, Emily Howe looks for a move on Tucker Sawyer, but can't get it done. Jimmy Cato's in pit lane, I think, making a stop to go onto the dry tyres, bailing out of that call that seemed so sensible in the warm-up session. But the time passing that has really cost them. At the moment from Tucker Sawyer, manages to catch it. Emily Howe managed to avoid and slot into P5. There's contact on the exit of the bus stop as well between Bia and Bailey Thompson, who goes for a pinch. Bia drifts it. They're still battling side by side. They're trying to wreck each other, it looks like. They've got to be sensible here. They've been passed already by Elias Flores and Rebecca Rennie. And Bia Constantinou is going to slide through and just about get the spot now.
This is the beauty of supercars. Really aggressive racing from these drivers. Very dramatic. Bailey Thompson and Bianca Constantino not willing to give an inch to each other. Bianca looking for the inside, but Bianca is going to be blocking. Still gets inside. 3 wide through turn 1. Being able to get it through clean. And Bailey Thompson is going to be still on the inside for the S's on the inside of Bianca Constantino as they go through the uphill on the crest. Lilac Zier looking on, ready to take advantage if anybody makes a mistake, but Bianca Constantino is going to get the better of Bailey Thompson. Thompson is going to have the draft for the back half of the straightaway here. Lilac looking on the inside, but Bailey's going to take it. This is incredible racing here. The two are driving tooth and nail. Bailey makes the mistake and holds up the line behind. And Lilac Zier, unfortunately, going to be losing track of Bianca Constantino as she is able to manage a gap.
Pressey and Howe side by side, nearly out of turn number 5 and down to 6. Pressy just about managed to cover off and defend the inside line there. That is going to give Pressy still a lead, and Christina Ryan Tuxedo going to be able to hold on. Beatrice Stenton, who now trying to find a way around Elias Flores, and I think really try and get away from Bailey Thompson, who there's clearly some bad blood between the two of them right now. That's wide for... Oh, that's Nicholas Pressy, and that's giving up the lead to Emily Howe now.
And it also held up Christina Ryan just a little bit through the S's, so Emily already building a gap to the cars behind. Christina Ryan looking for a pass on the inside, gonna get alongside, heading into the bus stop. Got to be brave on the brakes to be able to get ahead of Nicholas Pressy before the bus stop. Able to do so.
Oh my. And there's contact again between Bia and Bailey on the backstretch. This just isn't good. This is gonna lead to some incidents here. She's managed to get Elias Flores between the two of them after a move through turn 1, where there was a little bit of contact between the two of them. Bailey Thompson took advantage and once again got to the rear quarter panel of Bia. This is the most dangerous place to put your car. They still managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, but there's definitely going to be a little bit of damage on both of them after this much beating and banging. And now Bia's going to hope she can pull away and try and close into the top 4, but that's half the race gone already. The gap is 7.5 seconds to Emily Howe, your race leader, who's been released from Nicholas Pressy. Christina Ryan's up in second, and now Pressy's trying to fend off Tucker Sawyer for the final spot on the podium.
Nicholas Pressy going to be going defensive here against Tucker Salyer. You see a heavily wounded Jimmy Cotto in the background getting out of the way. Not exactly sure what happened with Jimmy Cotto. We might take a look at it in a minute. But it seems like Nicholas Pressy able to defend so far from Tucker Salyer, going wide over the curbs. Both drivers not willing to get an inch, only bested by Christina and Emily. But these two drivers have been at it tooth and nail, much like Bianca Constantino and Bailey Thompson, minus some of the door banging here. So there's a lot of battles going throughout the field. And we're going to take a look at that incident with Jimmy Cotto. I'm not exactly sure what had occurred here, but I think it might have been a spin here.
So this is a fresh set of dry tyres for the number 51. Already a lap down, just misjudges the braking. Is going to clip. Who was that?
I think it was Jacob Fulton.
Yeah. Gets knocked wide, but lucky didn't have too much damage, it looks like. That's going to be Cato's race done, and a really unfortunate is to fall. Fulton actually is going to be down on pit lane as well. After having a moment the following lap through the S's, it looks like.
The track seems to be practically completely dry now. I'm not seeing a whole lot of rooster tails of rain coming out, so the sun and the cars have spread the water off the track. There's probably still a few wet spots here, but we're going to start seeing a lot of rubber build up on the outside of these corners. And then that becomes a hazard in and of itself. These tires are very easy to scrub, and when you scrub those tires against the track, bits of rubber fly off your tires. If you're driving through all those rubber bits on the outside of the gray line and get into those rubber bits, that can coat your tires and cause a lot of traction slip like we saw from Tucker Salyer there. And it can cause a lot of problems for the drivers. So there are still track limitations that people have to be considerate of with regards to grip factor and whatnot, but in the dry you can go a lot faster than you could in the wet.
Yeah, Paige Azari now battling with Eva Melton. Those final two spots in the points were side by side through the bus stop here between Bailey Thompson and Lilac Zia. There's contact between the two of them now. Lilac force cut a little bit, ends up getting into the door of Bailey Thompson. He's going to back out of it and give that spot back up. But yeah, Paige is there really struggling on those wet compound tyres. Started 5th, was 2nd, remember, in that second race. It's her teammate Silver and Malachi Tracy still on those dry tires after Jimmy Cato bailed out of them and went back to the dries. Bailey Thompson now moved on Elias Flores, who had a moment through the final corner on that painted entry line. Lilac Zir going to send a move up the inside as well into turn number 1. There's going to be a little bit of contact with Bailey Thompson, but Lilac leaves the room. Is going to have a nose ahead into the S's. Can she clear on that inside line? Yes, she can. Bailey Thompson has to slot in behind. There's going to be a little bit of a nudge maybe from Elias Flores behind. Lilac Zir now from 6th place, doing a great job. Now that we've gone into dry conditions, the best race of the weekend so far.
Heading through the bus stop, running on board with Eli Sasic. Seen a lot of action so far, but hardly done yet. 4 laps to go, so we could see a lot of drivers intensify towards this end of the race. But keep in mind, many of these drivers are on dry tires, and the first lap is always going to be your fastest lap on those tires. The tires just wear down so quickly in the supercar. So we're going to see some drivers having to cope with the tire degradation towards the end of this race as we come to 3 laps to go.
Then again, the track is drying out that little bit. That's going to help the pace and help you as a side-by-side. Those are Elias Flores, Eli Sasic. A moment catching the painted line for Elias Flores. Keeps it out of his teammate. Actually, I think a little bit on the grass there as well, but he's going to slide and lose a couple of spots. Fall behind Rebecca Rennie as well, and potentially going to be under attack from Paige Zeri, who's trying to recover as much as she can on those wet tyres. Battle for 3rd place still incredibly heated between Tush Sawyer and Nicholas Cressy. These two have been on top of each other the whole race. The 83 and the 80 have gotten around, but these two doing a great job trying to battle their positions after what has been a pretty strong weekend for both of them. All 4 races so far between the two of them inside the top 10, well inside the top 10. And these could be the best results, but who's going to find that spot on the podium that they're both looking for? Tucker Sawyer, 1 position away in race number 2, might be 1 position away again as he gets into the grass there, has a wobble, and now might be looking backwards towards Bia Constantinou.
You can really see all the grass being flung off the tire into the air. A big chunk of dirt and mud flung onto the track by Tucker Salyer as a gap forms between them. Meanwhile, towards the back end of the pack, I got Paige Zeri battling for 10th against Elias Flores, sandwiched between Eva Melton just behind, and then her teammate Bruce Silva on the wet tires as Paige has a bit of a moment, and now Eva Melton is going to get by. Just a reminder, Paige Zeri still on those wet tires as well. Dogbox taking the unified position that the wets are the best, and we are seeing that unfortunate decision come across as Eva Melton getting contact on the wall, and that gives Paige Zeri an opportunity to now make a pass, and does so. So those wet tires may not actually be as bad a decision. Maybe being able to deal with that rough strategy call and able to battle for position for it with somebody who has dry tires. Eva is on the better tire right now.
Yeah, I think this is just damage limitation from Paige Zeri, doing a great job being able to defend on these tires. But remember, the longer it's done, the wet tires are going to overheat massively compared to the dries. After 12 laps on a dry track, this is going to be miserable for the Dogbox racing cars, but doing a good job to try and fend off Eva Melton. We've got to the white flag here. This is our closest battle on track. It looks like the rest of the positions might be a little bit sorted, and there's a wiggle there from Melton under braking, trying to find any gap around Paige Zeri, but maybe Eva's now overheated her tyres a little bit and is going to come under pressure from the teammate Bruce Silva for, again, this is the final spot in the points, but Emily Howe, rounding turn 5, hasn't had to deal with that much pressure. There's again been carnage behind on these reverse grids. Emily able to get a great launch. That has really been the key to her success in these 2nd and 3rd races. It's a great getaway, even on these dry tyres that we thought would be quite tricky. She's going to round the final corner. She stays ahead of trouble and is going to win her 2nd race of the weekend with Christina Ryan behind, making that a 1-2. Nicholas Pressey coming home in 3rd place Sawyer, P4, Beaton's dancing with great recovery drive for P5. In that race, Lilac Zir, P6, her best finish of the weekend, and then Bailey Thompson, Eli Sasser, Rebecca Rennie, and that's contact. After the race, I'm not sure how intentional that was. I think that was maybe just going for a little bit of a burnout, catching someone off guard. We'll have to see about that one. Elias Flores P10, Paige Zeri 11th, and we have an absolute car park in the S's right now. Eva Melton does hold on for 12th place there. Bruce Silver 13th, Malachi Tracy in P14. Valkyrie Lightwing ends up finishing P15 with Jiri Kato and Jacob Fulton also finishing laps down here.
What a fantastic race all of that was. It was a beautiful event from start to finish. The first 2 rounds in the rain, and the third race in the drying conditions. And you saw the cream rise to the top. Dry tires might have been the best decision. We saw a lot of drivers on the wets doing their best to mitigate the damage, Azeri being one of them, doing a fantastic job defending for 11th. We saw a great battle between Nicholas Pressey and Salyer, result with Pressey getting the best of Salyer. Bianca Constantino and Thompson had an incredibly aggressive battle between the two of them. We saw battles left, right, and center, and this is what supercars racing is all about. I love this series so much.
We've got some interviews to take here. I think we are going to start. Ooh, how do we take all interview if we got 3 different races to cover?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. I think whoever wants to be interviewed, basically, like, just pick 3 people. Emily Howe, for sure, won, if I recall, won all 3 today.
No, BFU won the first race.
Oh, won the first race.
Let's pull Emily first.
Yeah.
2-time race winner in this one. Number 83, Emily Howe. I think what I have to ask first of all is, what's your secret? What's your technique on those standing starts? It's the first time we've seen it this season, and you were able to get such a good launch to get through those reverse grids.
Oh, it's the cheater paddles from my Simagic GT Neo racing steering apparatus. Shout out to Simagic. I'm not sponsored by them, but I wish I was. But yeah, the line lock and then just using the cheater paddles just gives me a good launch every time. And then it's on for turn 1 and beyond.
And of course, had good pace all weekend, wasn't quite able to fail over Constantino in that race number 1. But then into race number 2 and 3, just able to really avoid that trouble that was forming behind. And especially for race 3, a very tricky call on tires. We saw you on the drives all the way through the board. It wasn't looking that great in terms of pace for them. But as time passed before that 3rd session, they just absolutely lit up. Did you have confidence that was going to happen going into that race?
I was 50-50 on it. Me and Christina were both committed to it. We made the call as, true Viet Supercars watchers from last week, knowing that Scam Waters and all the rest of the field could make it on the dry tires. But at the end of warm-up, it was kind of 50-50. We were a bit slower than the dry tires, and then with the crossover of the session, it dried out further, and I was just like, went from very slightly wet to mostly dry on the timing screen. So I was like, you know what, we're doing it, and we're sending it, and it worked.
Well, it was a great weekend for you. 2 first place and a second. Of course, your first time in this series so far, so I'll give you the floor. Any shout out to your sponsors? Congratulations, take it away.
As always, big shout out to Winstow and AV and everyone behind the scenes that helps put all this on. And then big shout out to Bianca, Christina, and everyone I raced against today. Very, very tough competition and very, very fun. Great job, Bianca. Race 1, I had nothing for her. The wet weather was really not my kryptonite, but then when it dried out, I was good to go.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
So that is one of our 2 race winners for this one. We'll pull in the other race winner. Bia, this is Olivia in the ABM booth. Congratulations on race 1, first of all. Sorry we didn't have time to talk to you back then, but a tricky couple of races after that. Those reverse grids really proving to cause some trouble there. Just talk us through how it was, first of all, in race 1, fending off Emily Howe, and then dealing with the traffic going forward.
I mean, to put it simply, I kind of just suck. I'm fast over a lap and I'm fast over some laps. Sorry, my voice is a bit sore because I had a bit of a Kurt Busch meltdown in that second race. So first race, I may be fast, but I just keep making way too many mistakes. I did not deserve to win that race. Emily was incredible and incredibly consistent. Yeah, I'm not happy with race 1, even though I won it. I just not a great performance, I'd say. I could have done way better, but I don't know. Race 2 and 3, just the whole mess. I mean, hey, this format provides entertainment. It does its job, I guess. But not really happy with how I got raced by a couple of drivers here. Second race, I messed up. That was my fault. I shouldn't have, been that far back in the field to begin with, but mistakes got to the back of my head and, just kept piling on. I think I went a little too far putting it 3 wide there with Chrissy and Emily, was it?
Paige.
Paige, yeah. I think I went a bit far there, but I mean, the nerves were at that point getting in my head, and I'm still pissed off. I'm not gonna say everything I want to say in this interview, but just not happy how Chrissy raced me, and not happy how Bailey tried to hold up a faster car for like 5 damn laps, thinking that's gonna change anything. When all they did was slow themselves down, slow me down as well, and just screwed everyone over. Everyone thinks they can just win the race by braking later or pushing the car off track. I know I got aggressive, but I mean, you just cannot with these drivers sometimes. Sorry if I got too much here.
No, I mean,
it's the most heated I've been in a while. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's what the interviews are for. It's to let people know how the drivers are feeling after the races. I'm guessing that's all you had to say about the races at this point, though. So if there's anything else you want to add, or of course any shout outs to any sponsors, congratulations on that race 1 especially.
Thank you. As always, Jones Racing Setups and 213 Simware. James from Stepping Stone, and my mom for letting me race.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, see ya.
And I think we've got some time. We'll make these interviews quick. We'll pull in triple podium here. Third, second. Christina Ryan.
Hi.
With a very consistent weekend out of this one. But yeah, just talk us through that one. How was it getting through those conditions? And a lot of talk in the preview about that second race. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, well, first of all, the Red Bull TV Pennzoil's XL RFK Ford Mustang was absolutely awesome, and Canes. It was really good today. We had a lot more pace than I thought we did. I came into the weekend thinking maybe we'd get a top 5 once or twice if we were lucky, and the rain's kind of the great equalizer, and I tend to have ran better on rain tracks in every game I've done. And it seems like iRacing's not very much different, so that's good to know. Just took advantage of that, tried to play patient, take care of the car, and let everybody else make the mistakes around me, and that's pretty much what happened. Race 1 was really fun, just kind of maintaining, getting into a rhythm. It was way wetter at the start than I think a lot of us were expecting. It was way more wet than it was in quali and practice, so that caught some of the guys off guard. Gave us an advantage to make a lot of ground up on people and then kind of hold on for the podium there, which was already awesome. Race 2 was something. I don't really know. People were making some crazy moves, and towards the end of the race, I felt like people were just kind of walking all over me, so I started playing a little more aggressive as well, and it worked out for me. So I don't know how many times the field gets away with that before we cause the sport ender, but it was good racing still. I'm not mad at anybody, and hopefully nobody's mad at me, but yeah, no, in the third race, just was on the dry tire. It was the right tire to be on, and I used up as much of the rubber as I could to get by Tucker and Pressy, because it's going to be kind of hard to pass. It was a little more difficult to pass than I was expecting, at least in the rain. So I wanted to get clear of them as quick as I could, and then just try to build a gap and hold on when the tires started to fall off a little towards the end. We weren't really fighting Emily or Bia for that matter, but Bia was on the wrong tire, and Emily just ended up behind us on the start. So.
Well, I would ask about sponsors and such, but you already covered that at the start of the interview, it seems like. I mean, is there anyone else and anything else you want to say, then, now's the time to do it, but congratulations on a triple podium for this one.
Yeah, we're super stoked with that. Came into the weekend thinking the best possible position would have been 5th, and ended up the best possible position was 2nd or 3rd, and we still pulled a P2 out of our butts, so really pleased with that. And yeah, thanks to ABN, thanks to you guys for putting it on. It was a really fun one to race. I imagine it's going to be a fun one to go back and watch later today. And shout out to everybody who roots for me every week and keeps pulling for me. We're not as good as we used to be, but we can still get some stuff done out there, which is always exciting. And this race car was super, super pretty. It's so cool to drive it. Obviously, shout out to Davin as well for helping me with some of the livery stuff on this, and Emily as well. So yeah, I think that's everybody. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us. And we're going to move on here. We've got a couple more people, 3 different podiums to interview. So we will move very quickly on. We'll talk to our race 3 third place finisher here, Nicholas Pressy. Welcome to the booth. Very consistent weekend for you as well. Just kept getting better and better. And then from that reverse grid pole in race number 3, holding on to a podium position. Great fight with Tucker. Sorry, talk us through that one. How did that feel from the cockpit?
Well, first off, the curse continues. I'm not allowed to win on my home track. But, one of these days, I was doing some testing with the dry tires late in practice, and I saw the times, and I said, you know what? I've only really got one shot at this. It's gotta work, right? It's gotta work. More people were on dry tires than I expected, so that put a small damper on things. Started the race fighting Tucker. Then Tucker made a mistake, so I'm like, okay, all I have to do is hold off Emily, who I've never held off before in anything in my life. You just got to do the impossible, and the impossible proved today to still be, unfortunately, impossible. Because I made a mistake that left me fighting Tucker for pretty much the rest of the race again. It's always a lot of fun to race here. It's always a lot of fun to race these supercars, and it's always a lot of fun to race here in the wet. So getting all 3 done today, that's a pretty good day for me.
Well, Santa Pilot, of course, we've got a lot of people to get through here. So any shout out to these sponsors? Anything else you want to add, of course? The floor is yours. Take it away.
I'd like to thank Eva for putting on such a something that's so much fun to do. Honestly, I'm bad at supercars, so when I get the chance to work on it like here, I think it's a lot of fun, because you got a lot of people here that are like friendly, and you don't have to worry about being sent an ICBM for messing up or something. It's so much fun racing with these people. I'd like to thank you two, Amy and Olivia Amity and Olivia for putting on such a great show on the broadcast and the things. Thank Drip Diecast for putting being the sponsor for the rest of the year. And because I didn't do this on Wednesday, Bryce, if you're listening, thank you very much.
We'll be sure to pass that message. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And one more before we get this all, and our final podium finisher back from race number 2. And a great showing in those opening 2 races for Dodbots Racing. Paige, welcome to the booth. Congratulations on your podium in the second race. A great battle there all race long. And talk us through the weekend for you.
Hello. Yes. Well, unfortunately, all week they've been making us do a whole bunch of overtime at work, and so then I get home super sleepy and all that. So I had no practice all week. And then I had to work today. So I only show up right at the start of qualifying. So fortunately this morning I'm good friends with Bianca, so I was able to flash her my best puppy eyes and beg her for a track guide, because I've always kind of stunk in the wet in iRacing. I've done it 5 times, was terrible each time. But she gave me this really nice little track guide for, how to drive Watkins Glen in these cars in the wet. A very daunting task, but so I just kind of put what she said to good use, and it went okay, I think. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to, kind of keep up with Chrissy, especially in the first 2 races. I know she's a really good driver, and she was really pumped up for this. So to be sort of on that level, I was quite satisfied. Unfortunately, the 3rd race for me did not go so well. It turns out that keeping the wet tires was very much not the move. So I wound up just kind of scrapping, holding on for dear life, trying to keep as many people behind me as possible. But yeah, I think it went pretty well given the circumstances.
Yeah, you put on a great show in that battle with Eva and of course your teammate behind as well. But yeah, a great showing for you, especially considering the limited practice you were able to get in. For the final time tonight, any shout outs and sponsors? Anything else you want to say to fans? The floor's yours. Congratulations.
I love my wife. She's great. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks
Wonderful.
for having me on.
That's a message we can all get behind, I think. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And that is everyone.
Wow.
That was a lot to get through. Of course, 3 action-packed races, and then I'm trying to remember everything that happened in all of it, to be honest. It's a great show. I was so impressed by the fight we had up and down the field. It was very much in the spirit of supercars. I think maybe a couple times a little bit too much, but on the whole, I mean, we had 18 drivers on the grid for what were very tricky conditions in a very tricky car, and we got treated to an absolute show here tonight. Thank you to everyone who made this happen. Again, such an incredible jump from what we saw. I think some great racing, but still, to triple the field is fantastic. What we've got on ABN coming up, Amity?
On ABN, we've got a few things coming up, actually. If we take a look at the bottom left of your screen, we had already the Tour of Long Beach and Monterey. The next event is April 12th. I know. Yeah, I'm getting to it. I know what I'm doing.
Those are upcoming. We're only
I know.
started March.
I know. Trust me. Oh, wait. We already did. Wait. Oh, now I'm reading it right. Okay, you got me right. You noticed. I did not. I apologize greatly. The next event is March 15th at Long Beach, and the streets of Long Beach. It's going to be a tour of Long Beach. It's going to be fantastic. I love Long Beach personally. It's a great Formula Drift section. It's a great track to race at, and these cars are going to be a blast to watch around the streets in California. And then after that, we're going to Monterey with the WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Meanwhile, some of the ABN broadcasts we got going up. March 2nd, that is tomorrow, we have the ARCS A2 Cup Series from Bristol at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Then the same day, about 45 minutes afterwards, we're having the Winsdale Cup Series from Daytona at 7:45 Eastern. The Winsdale returns to ABN, and it's going to be a banger of a season, trust me. ABN Champ Car from Miami on March 5th. That's a few days from now at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we have the Platinum Endurance Championship from Nürburgring starting at 7 a.m. Eastern on March 8th.
A lot of action still to come. I cannot wait. Again, we were back for the Marathon GT World Tour in 2 weeks' time over at Long Beach. I'm sure that is going to be one hell of a show. You should definitely be there. Same time, same place, of course. But as we wrap up for tonight's coverage, thank you to everyone who's come out and watched. Thank you to everyone who's driving, to everyone who's able to put this lead on. And Olivia Hayward alongside me, the wonderful Amity Pulsatrix. We will see you over on the West Coast.